was 19 years of age.
Okay.
Bordering on 20. And it was March 11th, 1973. And I bumped my head going down the stairs for the first time. And I'm so happy to be back here. I've been looking forward to this this tour all summer long. This is my turnaround point. I'll be heading back towards Nelson, British Columbia. I've made an arrangement with the Yeast, Cracker, Bread, and Pie Wagon Drivers Union to give me rides on some of that trek. And so it won't all be afoot. I'd like to commence with a piece. Now, one of my very favorite words in the English language is going to be the second word of this reading tonight. It's a word that gives me goose flesh. It makes me happy all over when I see it in someone else's work. So I'm pleased to note that I've included it here. I call this one "I Appeal to Some of the Senses," and here comes that word. It's number 2. With innards all a-quiver, long I've hunkered in the wings, till with a final shiver I appear and read my things. Like a Roman aqueduct that brings sweet water to your lips across the ancient hills, until into your cup it drips, I fetch trickling refreshment, if your dipper you would dip. Whilst I'm meting out libation, will you lift your cup to sip? Or now say it is a snare drum, playing 4/4 to the measure, that stipples you in goose flesh, aye, and heightens your blood pressure. You'll find me keen for tempo, when, as but a rhymester mere, I bear my dreams to ridicule. Will you incline to hear? Oh, well, my voice is not a dinner bell to gleaners far afield. The choicest lines I pen, meat-wise, might only weaners yield. And yet I crave indulgence. It's these footlights boil my zeal. I shan't be that long amongst you. Will you hearken to my spiel? For as nursling is to nipple, or as toper to his tipple, is yours truly to the ripple of a cellar packed with people. Yes, like a bench warmer with slivers, I've been chafing where it smarts. Now to raft upon that river that wafts sometimes through generous hearts. I'm confident that this is going to be one of those evenings. Now I'd like to take a moment here. I should tell you that this is not only, the number 19 figures prominently in my talk. I was 19 that first time, and this is my 1819th appearance anywhere. And yesterday I gave a reading at my 719th different location. And so, yes, 44 years, you see. It takes time, some application. But there was a fellow who didn't have my luck. His name was Fluvius Flavius. And he is known today, to the few who remember him, as the poet who waited too long. He was standing in the wings at the Teatro Tectum, also known as the Odeon, in Pompeii, on that day, August the 24th, the year AD 79, when Vesuvius erupted. And I'll tell you, you might be interested in this. It was kind of it bore the semblance of a vaudeville show. He was third on the bill. Opening had been Quitius Porcius and his dancing dogs, followed by the Abundanzas, gymnasts and equilibrists, and Fluvius Flavius, with pleasing recitations, was pacing in the wings when all tarnation broke loose. And it wasn't until 1823, after some about 80 years of excavations had taken place, that it was discovered that this fellow, whom they'd found crouching at the side of the stage, had in fact been a poet. They could tell by the papyrus scrolls, which were tucked under his arm, and the laurel wreath, which still was clamped onto his head. And so someone in the Fluvius Flavius Society took it upon themselves to translate from the Latin one of those poems. I'm going to read it for you now. It's a lovely little thing. He called it Dictus Nil Nisi Bonum, but it is translated as "Say something nice." So it's thought to be a pleasant, suggestion-filled commentary on domestic order. Say something nice. Say something nice when you clomp down to breakfast. Say something nice. If there's something to say, say something pleasant, sincere, complimentary. Say something like that, or else just eat your fish paste. That was considered a delicacy. Either on a cracker or eaten simply with the fingers. And later at noontime, if you've a companion, say something nice about how they appear. Say something kind and, if possible, mean it. Say something to earn the reply, "Why, that's nice to hear." And so on through supper, the dishes, and bedtime. Say the nice things that come into your head. When you say something nice, your opinion is cherished. Did you say something, dear? You say something nice. Woo! And Flavius Flavius thanks you as well, from wherever poets go. I'll be finding that out, I guess, in due course. Let's see, number 3. Is it too early to sing?
No.
All right then.
No.
All right then. All right, before I set up another little piece here, now I'd like to have this right there. I don't know if you can all see it, but I'll turn it to you now, and I'll face it toward the front. This lady is my hero. She's my great-great-aunt Katie Quinn. She's seen here on stage in 1891. She was, until I came along, I guess, the only person in our extended family who'd had the temerity to go on the stage, and she paid for it because the family just turned their backs on her. They would have nothing further to do with her. They used to talk about her, of course, behind their hands, and they'd say, they'd say things like, "That woman does a lot more than just act, you know." Whatever that might have meant. But she passed away of pneumonia in Brooklyn, New York in 1895, and the song I'm going to sing for you now, she never got a chance to hear it because it was written 2 years later. And as sometimes will do, I changed the genders around to make it singable by myself. You may know it as My Mother Was a Lady, but I call it Father Was a Manly Man. I've been waiting to sing this all across the country. I've been looking forward to it tonight. I've been saving it up for you. I thought about singing it in Winnipeg, but no, I think it's a Montreal kind of song. Here we go. Two flappers sat at dinner in a grand hotel one day. While dining they were chatting in a jolly sort of way. And when a youthful waiter brought them a tray of food, they spoke to him familiarly in manner rather rude. At first he did not notice them nor make the least reply, but one remark was passed which brought the teardrops to his eyes, and facing his tormentor with cheeks now burning red, he looked a perfect picture as appealingly he said, "My father was a manly man like yours, you will allow, and you may have a brother who needs protection now. I've come to this great city to find a sister dear, and you wouldn't dare insult me, miss, if Marge were only here." Well, it's true, one touch of nature, and it makes the whole world kin, and every word he uttered seemed to touch their hearts within. They sat there stunned and silent, until one cried in shame, "Forgive me, sir, I meant no harm. Pray tell me, what's your name?" He told her, and she cried again, "I know your sister too. Why, we've been friends for many years, and she often speaks of you. She'll be so glad to see you. And if you'll only wed, I'll take you to her as my groom, for I love you since you said my father was a manly man. My father was a manly man, like yours you will allow, like yours you will allow. And you may have a brother, and you may have a brother who needs protection now, who needs protection now. I've come to this great city, I've come to this great city to find a sister dear, to find a sister dear. And you wouldn't dare insult me, miss, and you wouldn't dare insult me, miss, if Marge were only here. If Marge were only here. No, you wouldn't dare insult me, miss, if my big sis were here. Very kindly, and thank you for singing along. I'm glad I saved it, although I could have sung it elsewhere too, and sung it here. But I'm glad I saved it. Well, here's one that I published a book in 1978 called it The Better Poems of Peter Paul Van Zandt. I sometimes wonder at the title and some of the things I put in here. I haven't even looked at this one in years, but for old time's sake, because I can remember the first time I read it was on what had been a stage here, as Mark indicated. You know, taller people than I, sometimes a fiddle player would have to remove a section of the ceiling in order to be able to play. Yeah. Well, there's not very much known about the Proboscis Monkey. I wish I knew more, because this might be a stronger poem for more knowledge. I call this A Few Facts About the Proboscis Monkey. Well, they say that it likes to swing through the trees holding onto the branches with one hand. It has a prominent proboscis, or nose, and it holds that nose with the other hand, commonly. So there is one kind of monkey who swings through the trees, holding his nose as he swings through the trees. 'Tis the Proboscis Monkey who swings through the trees, holding on to his nose as he swings through the trees. Holding his nose with one hand as he swings. With one hand he swings through the trees. Holding his nose as he swings with one hand, he swings with one hand through the trees. He holds onto his nose as with one hand he swings through the trees. He's holding his nose. With one hand he is swinging. With one hand he's holding his nose as he swings through the trees. Through the trees, with one hand he does swing. With one hand he holds onto his nose as he swings. With one hand he does swing, and with one does he hold as he swings by his nose through... No, I'm sorry. He is using both hands, both for swinging and holding his nose as he swings through the trees. I'd totally forgotten that it ended that way. All right. Now this is the part where I'm going to sit down. We're going to go into the deep end here just a little bit. And I'm going to do what is called some old-fashioned acting, if you will permit me. There was a fellow in my hometown, and I have his hat here because my brother Ralph swiped it from him one day. The fellow's name was Mr. Sweet, and he would sit outside the barber shop routinely, year after year. And I think the one reason, or one of the good reasons, that I have not had my haircut in a barbershop since April of 1968 was that facing Mr. Sweet, coming out after a fresh haircut was more than I could endure. So there he'd be. With he had a book like, not as thick as mine, but he had a series of improving lectures, and this was his number 34. Oh, yes. Now this part has a chorus. I don't usually do it this way, but I've decided it's up to you. There's a Mr. Sweet would chew mail pouch chewing tobacco, and from time to time, in his oration, he would turn and expectorate on the sidewalk, making a sound roughly approximating the words "irk, patoo." Now, I've been reading this piece for years, and frankly, I'm tired of doing that, so I'm going to hand it on to you. And I'd like to ask you, if you will, to imagine the wet, moist, sort of splatting sound that accompanies the patoo aspect of it. You don't have to duplicate it vocally, but just keep it in mind that that's what you're going for. So let's hear that. Oh yes, when I lift up the gonfalon of reiteration, as I call this thing, that'll be your signal. That'll be your signal to
Irk patoo.
Irk patoo. Let's try that, shall we? We're going along in the speech, and then suddenly,
Irk patoo.
and if you don't mind. Otherwise, you'll be spitting all over yourselves and your friends. So, identify an area that's clear, and, all right. Here we go then. Well, Mr. Sweet pipes up, I call this one. Why, there's an old gentleman, Mr. Sweet, on the bench by the barber shop. He keeps a seat, chews mail pouch tobacco, gets juice on the street, and just between you and me, he's a grouchy old cuss. When a boy gets a haircut and steps out on the street, itching down his collar as if he's got the prickly heat, mussing up the combing, doesn't like to look so neat, wishing for his dollar back to stand himself a treat. Oh, and looking out for pals of his he doesn't care to meet. His tickly hackle hairs feel the glare of Mr. Sweet. Well, for crying out loud, will you look at who's gussied up? Come and chin a spell. Get your ears lowered, sonny? Knew you went in there for something. Didn't think you're lollygagging here just to chew the fat, or did you think it's a saloon? Were you looking for a drink? You better learn to take the stuff or let the stuff alone. Looks to me you're feeling poorly. Don't they feed you where you live? I didn't have no lunch. Body's got to have sustenance. You take what you eat and eat what you take. And keep your cotton-picking elbows off the table. Jehoshaphat, you're sharp as this scissors. Who went south with all your gumption? Must have been behind the door when they was handing out opinions. Take the marbles out your mouth. Don't speak till you're spoke to. Do as I'm telling you, not as a do. Mind your elders and your betters. Why, when I was your age, we said please and said thank you. Caught it if we didn't. If I had my druthers, I'd put you across my knee, give you what for, and if they don't like it, no skin off my teeth. Oh, that's for nothing. Wait till you do something. Know what your trouble is? Well, that's for me to know and for you to find out. Consart, why can't you go tell your ma she wants you? Keep your nose clean and be back in 2 weeks. And don't tell me I never done you no favors. And how do you like them apples? Friends, I forgot my jacket one time hanging at the barber. I didn't like to go and fetch it, but I knew I better had. I tried to sneak my way inside. Mr. Sweet looks up, surprised. And I come right out again. He parks his wad, slaps his thigh. Knew they wouldn't give you another. This ain't a saloon, you know. Now you chase home to your mother. Give your hair a chance to grow. Hold your horses there, whirl away. I never said skedaddle. Well, for crying out loud, will you look at who's gussied up? Come and chin a spell. Get your ears, Lord Sonny. No, you went in there for something. Didn't think you're lollygagging here just to chew the fat. Oh, there was an old geezer, and he had a wooden leg, and he hadn't no tobacco, so tobacco he would beg. Another old geezer had a wooden crutch, always had tobacco, but he never had much. Says geezer number one, won't you give me a chew? Says geezer number two, I'll be darned if I do. If you always save your money and use borax when you wash your socks, you'll always have tobacco in your old tobacco box. Thank you. almost said friends, and then I realized, I guess my friends will be in later, but I feel we are friends. Now, okay, I'm a lucky fella in that there were a couple towns back where I grew up who claimed me as a native son. Matter of fact, in Coshocton, Ohio, where I am from, born and raised there, spent all my youth there. They'll tell you I'm from New Philadelphia. But you go to New Philadelphia, they'll say, don't hang that one on us. No, he's a Coshocton boy, or maybe he's from Newcomers Town. Now, the odd thing about their mentioning Newcomers Town is that I never did go there once, even though it's quite handy to where we lived. And, well, I've been in Montreal all this week, and many times, today especially, because I didn't want this day to end. First of all, it's my last day in town. I'm taking the train tomorrow to Toronto, Canada. Anyway, and also all week long I've been thinking, why did I ever move away from here? I love Montreal. I guess there were opportunities in Winnipeg where I went, and from more than once in the last few days I've seen a young fellow walking by who was about the age I was when I was thinking about leaving, and I thought, well, is he going to stay here? Is he gonna live in town, or has he got other plans like I seem to have made? And I've been walking up and down streets thinking, I could have lived there. I would have loved to live there. What a beautiful residence. And so I've been living a sort of virtual, unlived life here. And I thought, well, that might be a good topic for a poem one day. And then I realized I'd already written it. I wrote one about Newcomers Town some time back. Because, as I say, very close to my birthplace, and for some reason I never got there. So this is called On to Newcomers Town, the road not taken, and it seems to address the way I'm feeling about Montreal right now. I wish now I had spent more time in Newcomers Town, smaller than our own town, nearby Newcomers Town. All my growing up endeavor, and Newcomers Town sat waiting, barely 18 miles away. I could have walked so easily to Newcomers Town, left early, and walked leisurely to Newcomers Town, arrived in time for lunch someplace in Newcomers Town, could have walked there and returned in one imperishable day. I can picture myself setting out for Newcomers Town, east on Route 751, face to the rising sun, just 17 years old, making for Newcomers Town, out Chestnut, eating breakfast on the way. But somehow it never crossed my mind to visit Newcomers Town, that pleasant little town, at least by all accounts. If it had, I'd like to think I might have made that trip to Newcomers Town, and then I wouldn't feel the need to speak this way. Why, so help me, I would walk today to Newcomers Town, by now a different town, and I'm much older grown, but what of the boy who never walked to Newcomers Town? Perhaps he'll fall in step with me, and we can bowl along and see if good old Newcomers Town is all that they say.
Woo!
Are there any bird watchers here? All right then, never mind. We'll talk about smoking then, because this was quite an issue in my day. All the Gaulois and Gitane smokers in Montreal seem to congregate here in the basement at 3625 Aylmer Street. And doing a poetry reading, if you had a little bit of a cold, was darn near impossible. I remember being double booked once. I was here at the Golem across on Stanley Street, doing 2 sets a night here and there. And the only fresh air I could get, it was wintertime, was in the dash across the McGill campus, breathing deeply. And so I'm delighted to be back here and find that I can breathe freely. Now let's suppose that Edgar Allan Poe was sitting around his house in Baltimore, listening to the radio, and the announcer came on and said, "Are you smoking more and enjoying it less?" And perhaps Mr. Poe would have thought to himself, "No, gosh darn it, I'm not enjoying it the way I used to. I think I'm going to try and stop smoking." And so this is the poem I think he might have written. Had a radio for the first instance been invented during his lifetime. I was wondering if anyone was going to catch that. Anyway, so I call this one Edgar Allan Poe is Trying to Give Up Cigarettes, or The Craving. Oh, well, no, it's all right. It's all right, Simon. The Craving. Human weak and human mortal, I beseech you would not chortle while I tell of what I've lately undertaken, on a bet, how I've broke with ghastly habit, quite proliferous as rabbit, and banished it for once and all to regions of regret, how I've bowed to mass opinion and renounced my cigarette. Out with trash went smoking jacket and a full tobacco packet. Aye, 'twas wasteful, since the taste for it I haven't shaken yet. Cashews in each ashtray placed, gold match box likewise disgraced, and all because the gasper runs afoul of etiquette. Alas, how time and tide have turned upon the luckless cigarette. Quoth the Craving, "Are you sure?" Ah, what drear sensation when last eve I entered weary in my den, and no familiar fragrant stench my yearning nostrils met, no blue wreathing cloud above, bequeathing suffocance to love me, no fustiness to which I am accustomed mid to set the dear, disgusting pungency of smouldering cigarette. Oft before I'd thought of ceasing, while my wind went on decreasing, when I'd asked for one good reason, doctors gave me a quintet, 30 years of coffin nailing, due to tars so oft inhaling. 'Twas as though I'd been impaling helpless lungs with bayonet, while I fanned the fatal fuming of remorseless cigarette. Still I clung to my addiction with devotion out of fiction, nurturing the predilection for which now I pay my debt. Full of spirit once a dancer, here I flirted with the cancer. Yet it only served my appetite for dance of death to whet, left me haunted, left me craving, raving for a cigarette. Quoth the Craving, "Dresser drawer! Think ye still that I am joking? I could kill right now for smoking. Cursed fresh air I am choking, whiff of weed I cannot get. Breathing, every nerve ending is seething. Have heart's pity on this castaway whose past he can't forget. Oh, I know I'm not supposed to, but I want a cigarette." Quoth the Craving, "Corner store." But stay, with oft twixt yellowed fingers burning, sweet sensation is returning. My nose begins to twitch. Gad, I can smell the mignonette. Though I've gagged and hindered health, since that first drag in dread and stealth, within me lurks the pep again to tread the minuet. My bread and butter step again, the dainty minuet. Will you take this hand that ne'er again will take a cigarette? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Time's just about up. I've got one song I want to leave you with, but on my way to getting there, I think I'll do this one for you in honor of Katie, and in honor of the fact that the way this poem ends has become something of a habit of mine, and being a member of an accredited show business family, although one that doesn't always look favorably upon our efforts. I've prepared this one for you. It's called An Actor Prepares. And Keith, that's for you. An actor remembers his his lines. An actor rehearses his cues. An actor goes bathing in light and applause. Well, what then does an actor do? After an actor emotes with restraint or delivers his ham in hocks, an actor, and I mean here, the best sort of actor, an actor's actor, an actor walks back to his lodgings where an actor washes his socks. That's what he does. That's what she does. Thank you. And there's, believe you me, after all these years, I know there's good reason to wash those socks and keep them fresh. Well, this last number here is one that I quite enjoy. It was a record that was laying around the house. I don't know if Mother bought it or if Dad brought it home, but well, I think you'll like it. I hope you'll like it, and it's my way of saying goodbye. I hope not forever. 38 years is a long time, and I'm not entirely certain that I have 38 more years to give. I've been living as if I had all the time in the world regarding getting back here, but I hope to see you again a little sooner next time.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. So this is called Please, Please Take Me Home, and it was recorded by Sophie Davenport and her What Say You and I Sit This Next One Out orchestra. They were, it was an all-girl aggregation. Sophie Davenport, and sung by Francie Pants. I'm not a mama's boy by nature, but by my parents' rules I do abide. So please don't think I'm a prude or just trying to be rude if I say you're slightly on the wolfish side. Oh, you vixen! But a chap must watch his reputation too. So this one request I make of you, please take me home this moment. I really should have been there hours ago, because my mother always cautioned me that home's the safest place to be, and I wouldn't want to cause a fuss, so I suggest we jump on the next bus. Let's leave this place this moment. It's nearly 9 o'clock and that's not right. For you know this is a public place and it's not the spot for sweet embrace. So please take me home this very moment, or else there's going to be one heck of a fight. Please take me home this moment. Remember, I'm a gentleman and all, and the way you tried to hold my hand, it shows me you're undisciplined, and the things you whispered in my ear are things I know I shouldn't hear. Let's leave this place this moment. Enough is enough, enough's enough, enough's enough, and what is right is right. I don't care to struggle when I dance, but if you insist on this romance, then please take me home this very moment. Because there's nobody home tonight. They're at the movies. Nobody's home tonight. A double feature. Nobody's home tonight. I'll be an old man by the time I get back here next time. You'll see. Thank you very much. Well, I can't wait to hear the rest of you. Let's get on. All right.